Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So I did my first video on Convergence 2017. This is going to be the second one. Convergence was built around this idea of a petition for Bernie Sanders. Draft Sanders. That's been somewhat of the premise of it. This whole trying to pull Bernie Sanders into an independent party, a third party, to be the helm of that third party. That movement was spawned by Nick Brana called Draft Sanders. Now, 2017 Convergence, even though there were other activities and everything else, it was the premise of it, or the pretext, was on this thing of awarding or giving Bernie Sanders this petition. I had no expectation of Bernie Sanders showing up. Now, my wife, I don't know if she was joking or not, but she was like, I was expecting to see Bernie Sanders. I was like, why were you expecting to see Bernie Sanders? But this is leading to a point. On the first night that my wife and I went, this was on Saturday, we sat in on a panel with Cornell West, Nick Brana, Jimmy Dore, and Shama Shawan. And Cornell West, the indomitable Cornell West, opens the talk with, well, there was a moderator and everything else, but ultimately he was the first person they talked to. They opened the talk with, one, massive amount of applause because it is Cornell West, and two, going after Bernie Sanders. He went after Bernie Sanders. Now, this is pretty amazing. You're just the day before, or at the very least, you're working with this thing of Draft Sanders, and the indomitable Cornell West, Dr. Cornell West, is going after Bernie Sanders, the same Bernie Sanders they're trying to draft. Cornell West had a damn good point. Cornell West's point was, you should have had somebody here to receive that petition. If not you, you should have had someone here on your behalf to receive that petition. And I agree with him. It wasn't something I thought of before, but Cornell West is damn right. You've got $250 million. That's socialists. Pull down $250 million. And I'm sorry, yes, that was a bit of a sucker punch saying that socialists pull down to $250 million. But I kind of want to make this point of how much money people gave him. Like, it's hard to get that across. He was beating out Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton ended up raising $1 billion at the end of it all. But if you remember correctly, month after month after month, Bernie Sanders was beating her in regards to fundraising. Even when it looked like Bernie Sanders had no chance of winning at all, Bernie Sanders was still outraising Hillary Clinton for a few months after. So there's that part of it. Take the money out of it for the moment. But I do want to emphasize the money, because money is a big fucking deal. The entire business model of politics was, at least the argument that Democrats made was, we need to take the money. We don't have a choice but to take the money. There's no other way to do it but to take the money. And Bernie Sanders, in one primary, showed that wasn't true. That said, small dollar donations, meaning it was spread out across the country, and a lot of people gave. A lot of people gave. Not only were those people being cheated, but a lot of people gave. So it's one thing, no, the cheating wasn't called out. So that's the first part. The second part, though, is it's a lot of money. Beyond the money part, the time and the effort and emotional energy, the amount of time people put into that campaign. Like, if you think of all the legwork that was done, you're talking about state after state after state. And you've had all these people, many of these people were just volunteers, powered on this thing of, we have an idea for a better vision of this country, and we think this guy can do it. It goes beyond the cash. That's what I'm saying. You have all these elements that make up a campaign. Yes, Sanders was a lightning rod for it, but ultimately it took those people to make that revolution, or that idealized revolution, to even get it off the ground in the first place. If you had a bunch of rabid Sanders supporters And they were so on it that they literally went through the entire campaign season, continued to get names for a petition in order to draft a guy into another party. You should have had somebody there. I am Bernie Sanders, or I am here on behalf of Bernie Sanders, and I want to tell you that I appreciate the effort that you guys put into my campaign, and I appreciate what you're doing here. We didn't get this political revolution, etc., 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 add in some cheesy line, all that. But ultimately, the only sentiment that I really care about is, I am Bernie Sanders, and I want to thank you for the effort and energy that you put into my campaign. If nothing else, like, that just seems like a small thing compared to the amount of energy they expended. If you look at how much energy would have taken Bernie Sanders to send somebody to say, thank you, I appreciate your assistance, or I appreciate what you guys did for my campaign. How much energy? Hold that in one hand. Quantify that or compare that to the amount of energy spread all the way across the nation of all those millions of people and all that cash. Somehow come up with some number. Cut that number in half and compare those things with the energy it would have taken to send somebody to say, thank you very much. It's not much, particularly not for a sitting senator. Certainly Bernie Sanders knew that there was something out there bearing his name. It's like a love child or something that he doesn't want to own up to. It even has his last name, Draft Sanders. It's like Sanders is his last name. Nick Brana is running around the country asking him why won't he accept his baby? Why won't you accept this baby? He's bearing your name. Oh, look, he should have at least acknowledged it. I mean, let's be honest. He should have at least acknowledged it. Yeah, that would have just been a small courtesy. A small thank you. An extraordinarily small thank you. But it would have been a really big fucking deal to all those people who were out there pushing for it. I have no illusions about Sanders joining that band of merry men. Nor do I think they have illusions about it. But there is... Certainly he understands that these are elements of him. Like, these are elements, vestiges of his prior campaign. Certainly he understands those people were working on behalf of this campaign also worked on behalf of the other campaign. Like, these things are a direct line from one another. You screamed in a mic for a political revolution. And all of these people raised their hands saying, yes, we would like that political revolution. The least you could do is say, hey, I appreciate you guys wanting the political revolution, but no, I am not involved in this political revolution thing. I'm working with the Democratic Party. I'm terrified of Donald Trump. Hey, even if I want to leave the other part, a thank you would have sufficed. There's another reason to this. The politics of it. I gotta be honest, I don't care about the politics. This is one of those things where it's a small courtesy. And usually I don't even care about courtesies. Like, not care about them in the sense of, like, trivial courtesies in that way. I don't think that's trivial, though. I have to be honest. I try to weigh what it would feel like to all of the people who were involved, A, in the campaign, and B, in this endeavor. They would have felt amazing. I saw the feedback when, I think it was his wife, Jane Sanders, tweeted something out from one of those organizations. They were over the moon. They were over the moon. But there's another reason. This political threat angle. Any party that's attacking the Democratic Party from the left is a mortal threat to the existence of the Democratic Party. Think of it from the standpoint of, you have a party that's thoroughly discredited, which is the Democratic Party. And for a generation, all of the young kids, and kids is too strong, all of the, oh man, I'm showing my age, all of those youngins out there, yeah, all those extraordinarily young people, their impression of the primaries is going to be, they cheated my guy. And for a generation, they're going to remember the Democratic Party cheated my guy. That is going to be embroiled on the memory of the people who are going forth you're going to need in order to win any election. And I guarantee you that with anything else, the youth is the most experimental of us. If they found something that was credible, they would jump ship. You've been fortunate to only have to run against the Green Party. If you had to run against something that had an actual credible threat, and look, you must understand the threat in two ways. One, they may not be able to win, but you could never win if that threat is coming from your left. And two, if it becomes somewhat of a credible threat, it will be a cockfight on the left in this country. One of those parties is going to have to exceed the other. You're not going to have the situation of, it's hard, man. American politics is hard to have three parties, puttering about. It's possible, of course. It's just difficult to do. And if you have a party on the left, why do you need a pretend party on the left? At that point, the Democratic Party becomes the Republican Party. The Republican Party becomes this kind of right-wing party. And whatever that party is on the left is essentially the classical Democratic Party. So any threat to the left will be a mortal threat. And understand, it's a threat in a second way. It upends this idea of we're least worse. You're no longer least worse if there's somebody who's actually just better. Which is the point. Which is why they're trying to coalesce around something different and distinct from the other two-party system. So it's not that I think it will be easy. It's not even think they'll be successful about it. It's kind of besides the point. It's like, what's that line? Are you going to sit there and bleed all day, or are you going to do something? This is kind of the way I feel about it. You act just from the standpoint of acting. If an opportunity presents itself, you take the opportunity. But ultimately, you're trying to coalesce around something. This is, again, I know I say this a lot. To me, this is somewhat chess. What is your objective? And how do you accomplish that objective? And what do you need to chop through in order to get to that point? And sometimes it's not even what do you need to chop through. It's what do you need to coalesce around, or how do you need to reorganize yourself? There's an opening, a Briar defense, where you back the knight up to D8. Back the knight up to B8. It looks insane. Anybody looking at it said that breaks every principle in chess. And yet it's a real opening. It's a real opening. There are times where you have to reorganize yourself and make the determination of what you actually are and what are you trying to actually accomplish. I'd argue that Convergence was the first stone in it. It's the first stone in it. I would wager they would get better at it if they can keep going with it. That's kind of to decide. Yeah, he should have shown up. I just think it's a win-win in both cases. And look, even think of the signal that would have sent if a representative from Sanders' office showed up at that place. Even if Sanders made this point of saying, no, I have no intention of jumping ship. Doesn't matter. That impression is, like I said, to me the politics of this don't matter, but that's their sandbox. So of course they're going to see the politics of it. That's all they're going to see about it. The reality of it, doing it because it means something to the people involved doesn't factor into that calculus at all. They're into politics. For them, it's what is Sanders doing, and he is acknowledging this child of his, politically anyway. I think it was a missed opportunity, and I do think it was some degree in bad form not showing up. Even if it's, again, showing up to say, no, I appreciate it, but no. Alright, I'll leave it at that. Alright guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, write, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the work through Patreon. Thank you.